I'll never forget that day like the quiet and routine days I had grown used to. Everything changed in an instant. That morning, I woke up as usual, made myself a cup of coffee, and stood by the window watching the world outside. I was 59, but deep inside I still felt young. I had always taken care of myself, staying active and healthy. Yet, despite everything, there was a lingering emptiness I couldn't shake. Anthony, the delivery boy's name was Anthony. Every time I saw him, I felt a warmth, a unique energy that I couldn't quite explain. He was 23, full of life, and for months, I had been ordering things online. Just to hear the doorbell ring and see him standing there, I told myself it was nothing, just a harmless habit. But my heart would race each time he arrived. That day, as I stepped outside, I saw Anthony delivering packages in the neighborhood. He passed by me on his motorbike, but suddenly, his tire slipped, and he fell right in front of me. "Anthony," I called out, my heart pounding as I dropped my bag and rushed toward him. His knee and elbow were scraped, and he winced slightly, but despite the pain, he still managed to smile. "Judith, I'm fine. It's nothing serious," he said, his voice steady but slightly strained. I shook my head. "Don't be ridiculous. You're hurt. Come inside and let me take a look." At first he hesitated, but my insistence left him no choice. I helped him pull his bike onto the curb and supported him as we walked toward my house. Once inside, I guided him to the couch and grabbed my first aid kit. My hands trembled slightly as I cleaned his wounds, but I tried to steady them so he wouldn't notice. "I'm sorry for bothering you like this, Judith," he said, smiling. "Really, it's not a big deal." I scoffed. "Bothering me? You took a fall and you think I'd just ignore it?" He fell silent for a moment, watching me as I carefully applied the bandages. As I placed one on his arm, our hands brushed briefly, and the room suddenly felt different. There was a quiet understanding between us, one that neither of us spoke about but both acknowledged. "You're really kind," he said softly. "Most people just want me to drop off their packages and leave." I met his gaze and felt something shift inside me. "Anthony, you're not just some delivery person. You're thoughtful, hardworking, and kind. And honestly, seeing you brightens my day more than I realized." He looked at me, a new expression crossing his face, one of surprise, but also something deeper. Something unspoken. Then, after a brief pause, he sighed. "The place I'm staying at right now is so far from work. Traveling every day is exhausting. I've been thinking of moving closer, but the prices are too high." I hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I have a small apartment next to my house. It's not rented out yet. If you need a place you can move in for a reasonable price. It'll make things easier for you." Anthony looked at me, clearly taken aback. "Judith, you don't have to do that. You've already helped me so much." I smiled. "I want to." He nodded slowly, absorbing my words. "Thank you. I really appreciate this." The next morning, I saw Anthony arriving in a large truck with two of his friends. They began moving his belongings into the apartment. Standing by my window, I found myself watching his energy. His enthusiasm, it was refreshing. Something about this change felt right. As though life was leading me toward a new chapter. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. I poured some coffee into a thermos and walked over to them. "You all must be exhausted," I said with a smile. "I'd like to invite you for dinner. Let's all sit down and enjoy a nice meal together." Anthony and his friends thanked me. But Anthony hesitated before saying, "Judith, that's so kind of you. But my friends need to head back. It's a long way home for them." I felt a small pang of disappointment, but hid it well. When evening came, Anthony showed up alone. Seeing him standing there, I felt a mix of surprise and excitement. I greeted him with a smile. "Where are your friends?" He shrugged, flashing a small grin. "They had to leave, but I didn't want to leave you alone tonight." Hearing those words sent a warm rush through me. The rest of the evening, over dinner, our conversation deepened. In that moment, I realized this was just the beginning of something new. "To be honest," I said with a small smile, looking into Anthony's eyes, "I was expecting all of you to come, but since it's just you, I guess there's no harm in opening a bottle of wine." Anthony returned the smile, his eyes locking onto mine. "That sounds perfect. Wine and you're cooking, what more could I ask for?" I went to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of red wine and 2 glasses, and brought them to the table. As I opened the bottle, I tried not to notice the way Anthony's eyes were on me, studying me, as if he were trying to figure me out, but I could feel his gaze following my every move. With the help of a little wine, our conversation grew more personal. Loneliness, I said, taking a sip. Sometimes it feels unbearable. It can drive you crazy. I feel like I've spent most of my life living for others. And now I realize how much time I've lost. Anthony listened intently, his expression soft with understanding. Loneliness is hard at any age. But you, Judith, you're home. You're cooking. Even the way you carry yourself, it all shows so much care and effort. You've kept yourself so beautiful. It feels unfair that someone like you has to live alone. His words caught me off guard, warming something deep inside me. I couldn't remember the last time anyone had spoken to me like that. My heart raced as I looked into his eyes. Realizing that this connection we were building was something I hadn't felt in years, I took a deep breath, my emotions swirling. I understand what you mean, I said softly, but sometimes, no matter how hard you try, no one notices. Anthony set his wine glass down and leaned forward, his eyes locked onto mine. You're wrong. It's impossible not to notice you. Those words stirred something inside me. The warmth of the atmosphere, the way he looked at MIT, was all overwhelming. Anthony, you're very kind, I said with a slight smile, though there was a tremor in my voice. I clasped my hands together in my lap but couldn't look away from his eyes. The space between us felt much smaller than it actually was. He took a deep breath. Judith, I need to be honest with you. When I came here, I was just looking for a fresh start. But the more I've talked to you, the more I've wanted to get to know you better. There's something different about you. You carry a light. His words left me speechless. The warmth of the moment, the wine, the way he looked at MIT, all hit me at once. My heart was pounding so fast it was impossible to calm down. Anthony, I whispered, locking eyes with him, you've made this night so special. No one has made me feel this way in a long time. The tension between us reached its peak. When Anthony's eyes met mine, it was as if the world had stopped. Caught in the magic of the moment, I leaned in, toward him. When our lips met, my heart felt like it was about to burst. But then, reality hit me like a wave. I quickly pulled away, my face flushed with emotion. My thoughts swirled in chaos. This isn't right, I murmured, avoiding his gaze as I stood up, trying to steady myself. I hadn't realized Anthony had followed me until I felt his hand gently touch mine. His warmth, his closeness stopped me in my tracks. Judith, he said, his voice low but firm. He gently turned me around to face him, his eyes filled with sincerity. Do you really want this? I hesitated for a moment, my heart racing. Then, I nodded slightly. Yes. That night, something changed between us. It wasn't just about the moment, it was about something deeper. Something neither of us had expected. The connection, the understanding, the way he looked at MIT all made me feel truly seen. As we sat together, basking in the warmth of the moment, Anthony turned to me with a soft smile. Judith, I want to get away with you to a beach town, just you and me. What do you think? His words sent a wave of excitement through me. A kind of thrill I hadn't felt in so long. A vacation? I asked, smiling. That sounds amazing. Anthony chuckled softly, reaching out to gently brush my hair back from my face. No, Judith. This is just the beginning. In that moment, we both understood that this wouldn't just be a getaway. It would be the start of something new, something we weren't ready to let go of. This story doesn't end here. What happens during that vacation, and so much more, is yet to come. Stay tuned.